All right, in this episode, we talk about conditioning for the starter in season.
And we break down Jay's pitching mechanics.
Porcio, Stephen Godani here at the @Top Velocity # Pitch Tips show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat @Top Velocity # Pitch Tips. Ask your question. We answer on the show. Don't forget about baseball tips too. We've had some good catching, outfield questions. No infielders yet. Come on, throw some infield questions at us. Velocity. We haven't even talked about bat speed, but in our 2X programs, we don't get into hitting technique. We will probably eventually, maybe one day. I don't know. But our 3X or our 2X approach in our Olympic style lifting is really significant in helping overall power production, which is going to go into the bat swing or bat speed. And then, of course, we get into all the throwing mechanics from a position and even 60 stuff. So if you got questions on that, please ask. Of course, we keep our pitchers happy with all our 3X questions. So let's get started. What's our question for today?
Danny Muniz asks, how should a starter condition? Sprints, long distance, pitch count, build up, or mix of those? How many times a week?
All right, Danny, so this is going to go into a preseason guide, which we have the 3X preseason guide that has this in there. So starting with conditioning, basically you should be coming out of like we do in our off-season training. Those loads, you're lifting 4 times a week. You're in 80% of your 1 rep max thresholds. So I still like to try to stay 80 and up, but your overall volume will come down. You're going to lift about 2 times a week. Preferably your heavier lifts will be post your bullpen or post game as you go into the season, but less volume on the lifting to give your body, so we're not beating our body down so much so it recovers quicker, but we still need to get in those 80% up thresholds. That's a maximum threshold in your 1 rep max to keep your power, because you don't want to lose your power. You don't want to be going halfway through the season and you're losing your vertical jump and your ball speed and your lower half. So we've got to maintain that. So, but still, we bring down the volume. Sprints, long distance, yeah, we keep, a lot of 2-3 days a week off season anaerobic conditioning, sprints, plyometrics, stuff like that. We'll go down to 2, maybe 1 in season, but we still kind of stay pretty similar with our anaerobic stuff, because that is really what keeps us, being able to convert a lot of, or produce a lot of, or store a lot of ATP, which is energy. And then pitch counts, of course, we build that up gradually. So you start off with like a 35 pitch pen, then you go to a 45 pitch pen, 55, 65, and you work your way up. Don't make any big jumps. The arm is traumatized, the body's traumatized when you throw something really big on it. I think 10, 15 pitch increments is a good increase as you work your way up to a game. And if you're a starter, look at 85, 95 pitches as a starter. Relief pitcher, 35, 25 at best maybe is a relief pitcher. That's what you want to work up to, and then be able to recover in the amount of time that is required of you. And then so we have in the in-season, preseason programs, a starting rotation for throwing and lifting and anaerobic conditioning, and we have a relief pitcher rotation for throwing, lifting, and anaerobic conditioning. We also still do a lot of drill work in our preseason, less drill work in season, a lot of just kind of like dry work that makes sure we're keeping our mechanics solid. And that's pretty much the system. So if you want that, that's in the 3X Pitching Velocity program. Anything I missed that you want to add in?
No, that was a pretty general question.
Cool. So then the next one we got here is
Jay Johnson asks, this is why I feel I need the King of the Hill trainer. I need to utilize my lower half better.
Jay, we looked at your video. We'll show it right here. Yes, definitely. I think you have a very good upper body. You stay closed off your lift leg. You time your arm cocking well. I like your counter rotation. I mean, you're not opening early. At front foot, I even think your shoulders in a really good position. If I could stop it right at that point. I'm looking at it on Twitter while you're probably looking at it right below me right now. Whatever. Can't get this stupid thing to play. But at the front foot, you got some horizontal abduction in your arm. I think you're cocking maybe a little early. That's because The big problem with you is that back leg. That's why you're right. The King of the Hill would really help that, along with the 3X programs, because as you lift and you just kind of stall out too long, and then you take a little bit longer to go, your lift leg holds back in torsion, but the problem is by the time your arm's ready up and you to put down, that leg really never gets to do anything. So you're leaving the back leg out of it. And the reason the back leg's so important is it's the only leg on the ground going into front foot. And it's why when you add more momentum to your body, you throw harder. Like when you do a step throw or even a running throw, when you add more momentum to your body, you throw harder. The more momentum comes before your front foot strike. So the only way you're going to get more momentum before front foot strike is you're going to have to learn how to load and drive your leg. Peak forces out of your leg to generate that momentum, generate that hip rotation into front foot strike, and your arm's in a good position to really, load late, receive that energy, allow that energy to transfer, and then everything to go. And your front leg would get in a better position. So it's like, if I could take your upper half and put it on Chapman's lower half, I think you'd be doing really awesome. So we got to start to develop that in you. You got to start to lead with the hips a little earlier, get a little more momentum out of the hips, get the back leg to load earlier, so then we can peak it and get power out of it, going into front foot. That'll open your stride length, put your front leg in a more linear position, and as your trunk stays back and you get that arm in a good position, then everything just catapults forward and you're right there. So it is a big lower half issue. Anything you want to add in?
Yeah, I would just say, I was kind of talking to Brent about it today, about just how everything starts with the drive leg, in the leg, that just the ankle kick, rotation, like with the ankle just exploding through, initiating hip rotation right into front foot strike, like all of that is what would be huge for you to get that back leg really going. So I guess my whole point of it is like, yeah, you need a ton of power to be able to load into that leg, drive out of it, get that good ankle kick, get that knee extension, get that hip rotation, and still keep everything loaded back. So that's just something, as you keep building power in your lower half and then using the King of the Hill drills, that you'll be able to start incorporating. But that was the big thing I saw.
Yeah, and I think King of the Hill is going to help you understand how it needs to start working, but there's going to be some power development that's going to have to come in your lower half, which you probably could be lacking. I need to know things like vertical jump, sprint speed, stuff like that. Give me an indication of what kind of speed and power you have in your lower half. So you're more likely you're going to have to then go into development stuff. That's why with the 3X Pitch Velocity program, you're going to need all the lifting aspects of it to really get an explosive lower half to do what you want to do. Because when you look at Chapman, a lot of his ability to get into those areas and explode out of them is because he's got that athleticism in his lower half that allows him to move kind of like that cat on the mound, right? Okay, so don't ignore that, which is going to be more than just getting a trainer like the King of the Hill that teaches you is your forces being generated, when are they being generated, and the angles they're being generated in. You need actually the ability to get it to where you want, and there's athleticism that really drives that. All right, good question. If you have a question, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, at Top Velocity, #PitchTips, #BaseballTips. Ask your question, we answer on the show. And it's already starting to fill up, 2X, 3X camps. So make sure you go online and you get all those things set up for the summer. They're starting to fill up. A few spots are left. We'll see you on the next episode.